Hey, 4xe fans, I want to go through a little bit of a demonstration of some of the things to watch for this winter, and really just in general. Once we get back to normal, once these vehicles get back to normal and we can start charging them again, a lot of people like to leave their e-select in hybrid mode and just leave it there. And I want to show you some of the issues that can happen when it comes to form, when it comes to going into fuel oil refresh mode. Now, my battery is at 0%, and it's going to start the engine there, and we're going to start driving. So right there was an engine start. When that engine start happens, there's a little bit of extra gas that gets injected that is kind of hanging out in there. And if you can't get the Jeep up to temperature to burn those off, now I just got home before I started this video, so I'm already up to temperature and everything. But if you can't get it up to temperature to burn that little bit of excess fuel off, it will end up in your oil. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. I'm coming up to an intersection with a stop sign, and we're going to come to a stop. Now I'm going to let my foot off the accelerator. I'm going to put my foot on the brake, and one thing you're going to see, maybe, let's see if it does it. It might, oh, there it went. There, the engine shut off. All right. So I'm rolling to a stop, and I'm going to wait till the car goes by here, and then I'm going to take off. Now it's going to leave on electric propulsion a little bit, and then it's going to start the engine to join in, and I'm going to drive on down the street here to get to our next intersection where there's another stop sign. Now, the reason I'm showing this is there's a lot of people that are going to land in form for the first time this winter because they're both first-time 4xe owners. And this will be the first, I think it's the first time we've gone into a winter situation where we're not charging, because B9A, well, it was in February, so I think it might have caused some of that last winter. I can't remember. It's just hard to keep track. Now, for some reason, the Jeep made the decision to not shut off at this stop sign. Well, there it did finally. And so we're going to start again, and the engine's going to start again. Now, imagine if every time you do that, if you only drove, say, 3 or 4 miles, and you had, 5 or 6 stops in that time, think of those short engine runs and the added fuel that's getting added every time. And if you're going a short distance, you're not getting your temperature up to burn that stuff off, so you can find yourself in a situation where you're getting a little oil dilution, which is something that direct injection engines are kind of have a proclivity to do, is to have an oil dilution issue. So it's just something to look out for. See, there's another stop. I'm doing a turnaround here in a cul-de-sac, and then the engine will start back up again. So it's just something to think about, that if you are in a situation where you're driving a short distance and have a lot of stops in the cold, that can really exacerbate your potential form issues if the form you're going into is the oil refresh mode and not the fuel refresh mode part of form. One way you can avoid that, if you are driving along and you take your shifter as you're approaching an intersection, you take your shifter and pull it over to manual mode before you start to decelerate. That will keep the engine from starting. Now, it'll still downshift like normal, but you don't want to forget that it's in that manual mode, because when you take off, now it didn't get down to first gear, it only went to second gear. But as you can see, it's going to get uncomfortable because it's not shifting. So if I come down here and I shift up, I can go up to the next speed. I can do that if I want. Or what I do is, as I'm slowly pulling away from a stop, I'll put it back in automatic shifting and let it go ahead and shift. Now I'm coming up to another stop sign here. So let's pop this over into manual, and that'll prevent that engine from shutting off when I come to a complete stop here. And then when I go to take off from this stop, I'll just pop this back over there and let it start shifting on its own. And that's one way to keep the engine from shutting off, to avoid those form issues if you find yourself doing short distances. Now, if you're daily drive, gets on the highway, and you go 20 miles or 15 miles, you're not going to run into these issues as much. But if you are, if you do have short drives and there's a lot of stops, that's just something to think about. Now, in the Grand Cherokee, you have something called sport mode. And what that does is it kind of prevents the engine from shutting off. We did not get that in the Wrangler anywhere, although I have been seriously tempted to hack into this thing and see what this does when it gets pulled over to the side. I wonder if it's just all electronic, if that physical movement doesn't really do anything as far as changing anything mechanically, if it's just an electronic thing. But I don't want to do that if it causes it to then not shift. So it's just a curiosity I've had for a long time, that I've thought about getting in here and seeing what this does, and maybe, you know, put in my own button that puts the Wrangler in like a sport type mode. But I don't know what kind of chaos that could cause, so I haven't done it yet. So that's just some ideas on form and trying to avoid it a little bit. You just you got to think about your temperature and how you're burning off that excess gas, and the number of short engine runs that you're having. Like I think I counted one day like 12 short engine runs on my way to work. So that can really add up. You know, that can be a lot over the course of the winter, and a lot of oil dilution. So just something to think about. Thanks for watching. Take care.